Welcome TMDDTM viewers to another episode of Things My Dad Didn't Teach Me. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, and to engage in the comments, as I'll be sure to respond to any questions that you may actually have from this particular video. Today I'm going to share with you a build project that I actually did, remodeling a shower. I did the floors and I redid the cabinets as well, so be sure to stay tuned for those other videos. This video I'm just specifically sharing with you how do you rip a bathroom shower out and how do you actually install a bathroom shower. So on this particular build, you can see we did a really high-end finished look on this particular shower. We did the glass centerpieces up the wall. We gave it a granite finish look around the back of the rest of the shower. We did a dual shower head system in here. We replaced the mixing valves in this system, so I'll show you how to actually do that. When calcium actually builds up and it forces or creates leaks in your shower, we'll talk about how do you prevent that. So it's just a lot of detail in this one. If you're considering doing your bathroom for a remodel, specifically your shower, this particular video I think will help you quite a bit. So please enjoy. So rule number one on any remodel is to try to prevent the dust and the dirt from floating to other rooms. So we close this room up with plastic sheeting. Here I'm actually ripping the caulk out of the old shower. Once you remove that caulk, you can just lift the top portion out and remove this entire door and top frame assembly as one piece. If you can get somebody to help you during this part, that would be great. A second set of hands would definitely help. If you're not exactly sure how this system comes apart, you'll definitely need a second set of hands. You don't want to drop that glass and have glass everywhere. So if you can find somebody to help you in this process, get a second set of hands. Next, we're going to remove the shower brackets that hold the doors in place. These are typically just held in by a set of screws in between the frame, so regardless of the door set you currently have, just check for the interior set of screws and remove or break any caulk seals that may be there with a razor blade. Next, we want to locate the studs. We need to know before we start cutting this out, we don't want to cut through the existing studs. So I've been doing this long enough that I can actually use my hands to tap it and listen for the sound, but I'd recommend a new person actually utilizing a stud finder. Here I'm just mapping out where I plan on cutting through the wall in order to pull this existing shower system out. So I just use a drill to put a few holes in there so I can slide the Sawzall blade in there. You kind of do it at a 45-degree angle so that when you feel a little additional pressure, you won't cut completely through the 2x4 behind you. Now I'm going to use my Dremel. It doesn't go as deep into the wall and just cut right through the existing wall. Pull my Sawzall back out and actually start cutting through the actual shower that's currently in existence. Typically 2x4s or the studs in your wall are somewhere between 16 to 24 inches apart. Once you've removed these items, you want to make sure that you remove the existing nails that were left behind. This portion of the shower wall is up against the side of the house. This is why you actually see the insulation here. Now we're in the process of removing the mixing valve shower handle. This whole unit will be replaced. We want a new unit for this bathroom. So I forgot to remove the shower head here, so you see me tapping that unit right against that shower head. So we'll remove the shower head here, and then we will remove that front shower wall piece. Yeah, so I really enjoyed doing these remodels, updating the house, making things look much better. This actually was my mother-in-law's house that I'm remodeling here. So she had this project on her list for a while, and I had the downtime to actually do it. While you have the shower wall open, I highly recommend that you replace the mixing valve. You can see the calcium buildup here on the existing mixing valve system. So I went and found the exact same Delta faucet mixing valve system. Make sure you cut the water off that's running to the home before you start. Her whole home water shutoff valve was connected to her exterior water faucet. Now we're going to go ahead and remove the water mixing valve system here. This one was a little stuck. Normally they will pull straight out, but if you have the calcium buildup, you're going to probably run into the same situation I ran into, which was there was a lot of corrosion and this unit actually got stuck, so it gave me a little bit of a fight in order to get that out. But I'm going to separate this unit into two separate pieces. I'm going to pull the top off here. So I grabbed my channel locks to pull this off, and now you can see the internal mixing valve mechanism in here. So I'm just grabbing it with my channel locks to pull it straight out. This slides right in and slides right out. So if you have the calcium buildup, it may require you to put a little elbow grease into it to pull it out. This is what that interior looks like once you remove the mixing valve system there. We're going to put this new mixing valve system in. If you don't have a Delta faucet system, just see what is currently in existence and make sure that you replace the shower handle with the same unit. It'll make your life a lot easier. To minimize future corrosion, we're going to add silicone grease to the O-rings of this particular mixing valve unit. The silicone grease will also allow it to slide directly in and just snap in. You'll feel it kind of connect right into the unit here, and then we can actually put the top back on it, secure it, and lock it back in place. We're going to put some of this silicone grease on the exterior O-ring as well, so that when we go to slide the exterior housing unit on it, we won't have any problems either. So now that this is complete, we can go and cut the water back on, turn the valve back open. So now we're back in and we're finishing the removal of the wall around the window frame here. All of this has to be ripped out. We're going to go down to the bare studs. I'm a big fan of the construction hauling bags. You can dump stuff in there, don't have to worry about the bags falling apart. Next, we're ripping the floors out. I'm using my circular saw just to kind of draw a box around where I know the pipe is to loosen it all up so that I can just pull this floor up without disrupting the existing piping or plumbing that's under the floor. So So I am just literally tucking my hammer up under the floor to lift the whole floor up, and this whole thing will come out as one unit. Grab your shop vac, clean the space up. We're going to twist and remove the remaining tub piece here. Now we've removed the old shower. Now we can actually begin building the new shower. I'm a big fan of the Schluter Kerdi shower kit system. When you go to your big box store to purchase your Schluter kit, make sure you let them know you want the Schluter complete shower kit system. It comes with everything you need other than these remaining items: the Kerdi-board for the walls, the Schluter all set, the Schluter Kerdi band strips, and the washers and screws. So after measuring the shower, I've decided that we need to widen the shower. So we're going to remove these tiles from the floor so that we can come out with the shower a little more. So I pre-drilled holes in the 2x4s so that I can actually use 3.5-inch coated screws to connect the 2x4s directly into the top of the frame and the bottom of the frame. That way the wood won't split. So I'm adding this additional 2x4 stud so I can frame a box in so that that shower niche will have something to sit on. You'll see that later in the video. So this is the Kerdi floor foam system. What you see me doing here is cutting it to size. I measured the space on the floor. I made sure that the hole lined up with the centerpiece of the existing shower frame. And you can literally cut this stuff with a razor blade, with a construction blade. So I'm lining it up with the centerpiece here. I'm going to next cut the spacers out. These spacers allow you to set the shower drain directly on top of the foam pieces later. So this is the shower flange that came with the kit. Now I have to cut a larger hole into the floor in order to accommodate my kit. So the floor is clean. Now I have to cut the drain pipe to size. So I just actually add a cutter to my drill, and it's just going to cut the top of the existing ABS piping here. So black piping is typically ABS piping. Gray or white piping tends to be PVC piping. So I'm going to end up having to connect an ABS pipe to a PVC flange. So I have to get a particular type of cement adhesive for that. So I'll show you that here in a minute. I'm using the Schluter all set thin set. I'm a big fan of Schluter products, as you can tell. Very well, you know, with me being an engineer, it's very well engineered. They were very thoughtful about their system. So I'm mixing the Schluter all set. Read the instructions on the bag, mix it based upon what the instructions tell you to do. Now I'm cleaning the floor with a wet sponge, and I also want to make sure I have a wet floor that I'm going to install this bottom system to. A wet floor is important because it allows the thin set something to adhere to. It won't float. It'll actually stick to the floor if you wet the floor. Now we just want to level this out. Now that I've laid the Schluter thin set on the floor, I'm going to be using a 1/4 inch by 3/16 inch V-notched trowel here. and I'm just going to place the Kerdi shower kit, foam shower kit, to the floor here. And again, this is like putting a puzzle together. So you want to make sure, you take a quick walk, take your shoes off, and use your body weight to kind of level this out. Here I'm actually putting the shower curve on. This is where the doors to the shower will actually sit. I'm adding some of the Schluter thin set here, and it's going to act like an adhesive. Any place you actually have a gap or any connecting seams, you want to make sure that you cover those cracks and crevices. And the Kerdi-board, you can just cut again with a construction knife. We're going to cut it to side. We're going to add some Schluter offset and just tap this in, and it'll act like a cement, and it'll maintain its position. So here I'm buttering the connecting seams, and I will be putting Kerdi band around this here in a second, and that will create a waterproof seal. We're going to remove all the air pockets. We're using the Kerdi strips here. This is what you use to bond seams. It waterproofs the seams. Now we're going to actually start installing the Kerdi-board up the wall. And again, these are just foam, waterproof foam pieces. It's a lot easier using this than the traditional pieces that you typically use to do a shower. You want to remove your shower head so that you can mark where your shower head is going to go into your Kerdi-board. And again, these pieces are all cut out with a construction knife, so it makes life a lot easier. I'm cutting it to size to fit inside the wall panels that I've already removed. Here you can see me marking, preparing for my my mixing valve seal. Next, we want to cut a hole for the shower head. Pipe nipple opening, it's about a 1/2 inch. That also comes with a seal in the kit. Now I'm marking the location for my screws, approximately 36 inches apart across the studs. And again, like I told you, these studs I believe are about 16 inches apart. Every place that I've marked, I'm putting the Kerdi silver ionized aluminum screws and washer sets in place. And we're just going to tag these right to the wall. We're attaching these to the wall studs right now. Next, I'm going to install the recessed shower niche. And because I put the 2x4 frame around here, I'm screwing these right into the 2x4s. So that was planning ahead, just being thoughtful about where that was going to go. Now we have that installed. Now it's time to waterproof all the joints. I'm using the Kerdi Keurig F corner pieces, both interior and exterior pieces, or inside and outside pieces. So they're prefabricated, pre-cut. I'm going to use the Kerdi Flex Roll to actually cover the long seams. We're using the Kerdi offset kind of as an adhesive to waterproof all this space. First you want to apply a layer in there, then you're going to put the actual Kerdi strips in. Remove all the air pockets. I'll hold while I scrape and push all the air bubbles out. You want it to be smooth. Now I use the Kerdi flex roll for the long seams. When you go to overlap, you want to make sure you overlap by about 2 inches between the long seams and the existing corner pieces. These membranes are going to waterproof the entire shower. I'll show you how to check leaks here in a minute. What you're going to do with the Kerdi strips, you're going to fold those in half when you get to these corners. I'll show you here. So these Kerdi flex pieces, you fold them in half and you tuck them in the corner right at the center portion. And again, you're going to, I use the 2 putty knives to smooth the system out. So the existing Kerdi thin set that I'm using here, whatever the excess is that comes out, that's not a problem. You're just going to smooth that right on top of those strips. Now it's time to cover and patch the ionized washers. Every washer needs to be covered and patched. That's waterproofing each of those so you don't have any leaks behind the wall. I cut these small patches with the Kerdi material, and you just lay it over each location. So we've wrapped and waterproofed the entire shower at this point. Now we want to wrap the shower thread with PTFE tape. That's going to prevent leaks behind the wall. And now we want to connect the drain plumbing at the bottom of the shower. Add the Kerdi all set to both the spacers as well as the floorboard. We don't want any air gaps, so we want to make sure that we do this correctly. Now again, I told you earlier that I'll be applying ABS piping to a PVC drain, so I have to use the right cement. So I'm going to look for this particular ABS to PVC green cement. Clean the top of the ABS piping with the sponge, and then you're going to apply the cement to the exterior portion of one and the interior portion of the other, and then you're just going to twist it on until you actually feel a good seal. Now you have a short period of time to work with this, so you have to make sure that you get it set at the height you like as quickly as possible. We're going to let that plumbing dry for about 30 minutes, and then we'll come back and work with this. So now the drain is finished sealing. I can move it around because it has a good seal. I'm going to start applying a liberal amount of the Schluter offset over that drain flange. Again, remove all the air bubbles. Use 2 putty knives simultaneously to kind of help you smooth it all out. We're creating a watertight seal here, so we don't have to worry about any leaks behind the wall. Again, this is really important that you do these things. So we're going to let the shower dry for about 8 to 12 hours. Now it's time to do a water test. We're going to do that water test for 8 to 12 hours. You can go and buy a Oatly drain plug. We're going to put about 10 gallons worth of water in the bottom of this shower and let it sit for 8 to 12 hours. You mark it with a water level to see whether or not the level moves. So 12 hours later, the water is still at the same mark. That's an indication that there are no leaks, so you can go ahead and open the drain up. Now it's time to towel the shower now that we know that the shower is not leaking. Now I placed tiles on the floor. I kept them in their plastic wrap because they're not permanent. I don't have any thin set placed on the bottom of these tiles. I decided to do the floors last because I wanted to keep that as clean as possible, and you end up with a lot of material falling directly on the floor. So that was just my personal preference. You can do the floors first, or and then the wall, or you can do the wall and then the floor, but you have to plan for it by tucking the tiles up under until it all dries. But I kept it in the wrap so that I can slide it back out, and then I can do the floors last. Noticed I buttered the walls before I added the L angle trims here. That's going to be my perimeter, and that's going to be my guide to help me keep my glass tile pieces straight as I go up the wall. For these glass pieces, I am using a 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch wide square trowel. Notice that I'm applying all set to the wall here, and I'm actually covering the trapezoid opening of the L-shaped transition strips. Notice that I've back buttered the glass tiles as well. You want a 90% coverage and bond between the wall and the tile. You want a 90% coverage between the wall and the tile for anything that you do, even for the floors. Preferably 100% for the floors if you can get that type of coverage, because that'll prevent the floors from cracking if there's excess weight ever rolled across the floor, like a refrigerator of some sort. So if you'll notice those blue shims that we're actually using, and I placed them inside those spacers, those are designed to prevent lippage. Lippage is when your tiles do not sit flush with one another. One sits slightly higher than the other. We're going to take a pair of pliers, and we're going to squeeze those shims directly into those plastic pieces, and it will force those tiles to actually sit flush. It's worth the investment. I definitely recommend that you purchase sets to prevent lippage. So we will be applying very large tiles here. So I will be using a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch trowel. to apply the large tile that we're going to place on this wall here. We're also going to back butter these large tile pieces, so that way we make sure that we have greater than 90% coverage on these tile pieces as well, and we don't have to worry about them ever falling off the shower wall. So this is when I start to get excited about a project. You start to see the beauty come into play. You can tell how beautiful this shower is going to be at this point. There are a lot of different tools you can do this job with. I'm just going to use my handheld saw here. I am using a diamond blade for cutting tile, which allows me to have a highly precise cut. I pre-mark the area and walk it through very slowly based upon my marking. Now you want to flip the tile over to finish the cut because you want to hide the overlap. So don't make those corners touch until you flip it over. Then we'll just slowly chew into the corner to give it a smooth edge. And this is the layout for the shower niche. At this point I was really getting excited because the vision for this bathroom, this shower, and what we saw, this was coming out much more beautiful than we expected it to. So now that we've actually placed these large tile pieces up, while the thin set is actually still wet, you want to slide the L edges, the edge trim directly into the corners in between the wall and the tile. That way it'll harden with it locked in and you don't have to worry about it moving at all. So as soon as you put the pieces up on the wall, you can go ahead and start to frame your unit out with the L-shaped aluminum pieces. It's a very subtle elegance. just saw me mark the circle for the shower handle and shower mixing valve. So this is just a slow process to cut a nice round area out, and we'll clean that up here with this blade. So you can see how beautiful this shower is, but it is 10 times more beautiful in person. This video does not do it justice, although it's extremely beautiful in the video. So after you finish installing the walls, you let that dry overnight, and then you can start knocking the spacers off and the clips that prevented us from having lippage. Make sure you use a rubber mallet to remove those clips. So I had a couple of them break off, but it wasn't a big deal because I'll just use my circular saw to chew in between where the grout is going to go in between the tile pieces. Now you remove the floor tiles off the floor that you kept wrapped in the original packaging, because we're about to prep to do the floor. I'm going to hold off on doing the grouting. I'm going to do the grout for the walls as well as the floor at the same time. So here I'm going to do a dry run. I'm going to cut my pieces. I'm not going to put any backing on it, so this is all still dry product, just to see how everything fits so I can cut it before I actually adhere it to the shower floor. So I've already marked my material here and I'm cutting it. Now I'm ready to use the offset to tie the drain in. And I'm going to work from the drain out. The drain will be the focal point, and I'm going to work everything out away from the drain. So notice here that I'm using a white thin set, but I'm going to eventually be using a gray grout. So let me just give you a little advice. If you can get a gray thin set, since you're going to use a gray grout, you don't have to spend as much time trying to clean up the thin set that's going to squeeze through those individual pieces, because the grays will match. But I didn't do that, so I spent a lot of time going through those individual pieces and cleaning out the excess white thin set to make sure that it didn't conflict with the gray grout that I was going to actually lay down. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you can match that, if you're going to use a gray thin set, gray grout, use a gray thin set. If you're going to use a lighter color cream or white grout, it's okay to use this particular color thin set. It'll just make your life a lot easier. Okay, now it's time to grout, and my go-to is Makeover Flex Color CQ. It's a ready-to-use epoxy grout that is stain and chemical resistant. Doesn't require sealing like most grouts. This will save you time, keep your grout color consistent throughout the entire installation. The color that you see in the bucket is the color that it dries at. So I highly recommend this particular grout. Now we're ready to grout the wall as well as the floor. Once you get the grout in your seams, you want to immediately follow that up and get it while it's wet to wipe it all up, because it can be a bear trying to clean that grout up off of that stone after it started to dry. So you don't want it to sit more than 10 minutes before you start to wipe that off. So you're going to do a little section at a time. You'll put grout in and then you'll get your sponge in, and then you'll wipe it down with your sponge. And you want to do that consistently, because it is a nightmare trying to get that dried up grout off of your walls, especially the grout that I'm using on this particular project, which has a polymer added directly into it. In order to install the grout, you just apply it to the floor directly, and then you grab a solid rubber grout float, and you're literally just rubbing it into the cracks. So you want to hold that at about a 45-degree angle, and you just slide it off as if you're wiping it up. And then you'll follow that back up with a wet sponge to clean it all up, and that way you make sure you don't leave any haze on the floor. So it's a very simple technique. Just make sure you fill in all of the individual cracks in between each tile. Now that you've applied the grout in there, you want to make sure you follow this up with a wet sponge before it completely dries. And I am just wiping up all the excess, trying to leave the floor as smooth as possible. And you want to wring that sponge out frequently, because you're going to grab a lot of the leftover grout. You don't want any haze left on this floor. Once you're done wiping it up with the sponge, you want to remove the tape. You want to remove that tape and clean off all of the excess before it completely dries. So as you can tell here, I'm actually cleaning it up, and the grout is still fairly wet. Now that the walls and the floor are complete, put the covers on the mixing valve, the handle, as well as put the shower head on that we chose. Okay, so I think we'll all agree that this shower head, this dual shower head system, is pretty nice. It's a game changer. So we're rounding third, headed to home. It's just time to install the shower doors now. So we got these shower doors from Lowe's. It is a barn door shower door setup, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Love the way that it looks. Looks very modern, very sleek. It was an easy install. So if you like this particular door, you can check it out at Lowe's. We were having someone build us a custom door, or speaking with someone about building a custom door, and they were trying to charge somewhere between $2,000 to $3,000 for this same sort of door, and we found this door set up at Lowe's for less than $1,000. So yeah, just shop around, see what your options are, find something you like. And it was pretty straightforward in terms of how you put it all together and install it. Directions were great. So when you're done with installing all this hardware, you're going to need to use the 100% silicone caulk to seal the entire door frame, from the back wall all the way down to the bottom of the floor and across the floor portion, just to make sure that you don't end up with any floor leaks to the exterior floor. So just make sure you're thoughtful about that. I forgot to show that in the video. So that's it. We're done. That's the end of the shower. Please stay tuned. Subscribe to the channel. I will be showing you what I did to the floors in this bathroom, how I replaced the vanity with a granite countertop, how I redid the cabinet doors, that whole setup. So please be sure to subscribe. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. You're looking at this shower. It looks like a shower that you would see in a high-end resort. If it's something you think you want to tackle, by all means, if you need any advice or any tips, just let me know. But I think this shower turned out absolutely gorgeous. It looks amazing. Be sure to comment. Let me know what you think about this video. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching TMDDTM, Things My Dad Didn't Teach Me. And I look forward to seeing you back at the channel again. God bless.